All right, so this is where your training begins. I'll be your instructor throughout the program, and we'll be here to help you every step of the way. You may already have some experience driving, or this may be your first time. Either way, I think you'll learn a few things before we're done. We'll start on this test track and practice some basic skills before we get on the road. Start by looking around your vehicle. Notice the other vehicles around you. It looks like you can see everything, but there are places around your vehicle you just can't see from the driver's seat. These are often called blind spots, and it's one reason why a car has mirrors. If you set them correctly, you can eliminate many of those blind spots. Here, I'll show you. So you start by setting the rear view mirror so you can see as much of the rear window as possible. It should look something like this. Then set the side mirrors as far out as you can, but where you can still see the side of your car, like this. Notice the life bar above. This is how you can keep track of your score during each lesson. Your score will decrease for each infraction, but will also recover as you drive along without making mistakes. Your life will completely deplete and the lesson will end for any reckless behavior like getting into a crash, driving off-road, or excessive speeding. In every lesson, you'll be required to put on your seatbelt before starting your vehicle. Click on your seatbelt. Okay, now start your vehicle. Place the vehicle in drive. Drive up to each stop sign and come to a complete stop before moving forward. You don't get credit for stopping unless you stop completely. All right, now let's practice steering. Follow the path around these barriers and, try not to hit anything. See, you're already a pro. Try using your turn signal before taking a left. Your turn signal will automatically shut off when you straighten out the wheel. We'll go over the use of turn signals in more detail in a later lesson. You can take a right and continue with the tutorial, or take a left and return to the parking lot. Notice you're not allowed to go straight. Do not enter signs are common, so keep an eye out or you may end up driving into oncoming traffic, which can be embarrassing, never mind dangerous. There are many road signs you'll need to become familiar with. We won't cover all of them in this course, so make sure to review them on your own. One sign you should pay attention to right now is the sharp turn ahead, which is often accompanied by a reduced speed limit. In addition to road signs, there are also markings on the road that you'll want to pay attention to. A solid yellow means the other lane is for oncoming traffic and you shouldn't cross it. A dashed yellow line means you can pass, but use extreme caution. A dashed white line means there are 2 or more lanes going in your direction, but there will still be a solid yellow line between you and any oncoming traffic lanes. Notice the change in speed limit as we approach the final curve. This is because it's sometimes difficult to see around sharp corners, and you don't know what's waiting around the bend. Alright, up ahead we'll try some parallel parking. Many people are uncomfortable with parallel parking and it can be tricky, but I'll show you how to do it perfectly every time with 3 easy steps. Okay, step 1, pull up alongside the car in front of the space where you want to park. There are markings on the pavement so you know where to stop. Step 2, put the car in reverse. This overhead view should help. Turn the wheel to the right and point the rear of your car into the space. Step 3, continue backing. When your front bumper clears the other car, turn the wheel back to the left and continue moving back until your entire car is in the space. Check the overhead view to see if you've pulled all the way in. And if you find yourself not lining up, just pull back out and start over. Don't force it. It's better to try a few times than to risk hitting another vehicle. When you're done practicing and ready to leave, simply turn the wheel to the left and pull out the same way you came in. Normal parking spaces are much easier, but choosing the right one is more important than you might think. When selecting a spot, check the space for other objects. Steer clear of any tight spaces, and try not to park in a space next to a light pole or other objects which might limit your... Go ahead and pull all the way through, and shut down your car by putting the car in park and turning off the ignition. Okay, I think you're ready for the next lesson. You can run through the course again on your own or escape out to go back to the main menu. Okay, so you've learned some of the basics and become more familiar with your vehicle. Now for the most important lesson. It's a simple rule. Don't hit anything or anyone with your car. Might sound obvious, but think about it. If you can avoid hitting other objects and keep them from hitting you, you have all but eliminated being involved in a crash. Let me show you what I mean. Start your vehicle and take a right out of this parking lot. You may have heard other drivers who have been in a crash say, I didn't see it coming. Exactly, they didn't see it. That's why they got hit. The best way to see it coming is to constantly scan your surroundings. Scanning doesn't just mean looking around, it means searching for hazards in situations that could lead to a crash. It sounds simple, but there are some really effective ways of doing it. When scanning, follow this pattern. Look in front of you for things you have to react to immediately. Then further down the road for any upcoming hazards. Look to your left, also checking your left mirror. Then to your right. Finally, check your rear view mirror for any vehicles that might be coming up behind you. Okay, let's keep going. Scanning should be done continuously. You still focus most of your attention straight ahead, but rotate through all other areas every few seconds. You may need to think about scanning at first consciously, but after a while it'll simply become a habit. Stop here, I want to show you something. Not all hazards are readily visible, but just because you can't see them, of course, doesn't mean they're not hazards or won't become one. Hazards can be blocked by other vehicles, sharp turns, even road signs. For instance, that bus to the right might be blocking a number of pedestrians. The truck to the left is hiding an emergency vehicle. And small objects like motorcycles and bicycles are easily hidden. Okay, let's keep going. As you become more experienced, you'll get better at identifying these hidden hazards. Okay, now that you know how to search for hazards, there's a technique that'll allow you to go one step further and actually predict hazards before they occur. Some objects might not look like hazards, but might display clues that they're about to become one. If you look carefully, you can spot some of these clues. Look ahead to your right. Notice the SUV with its wheels turned out and brake lights on? This may be an indication that the car is about to pull out. You can see that there's a driver in this truck, which means the door might open at any time, just in case you want to slow down and move slightly to the left. In some areas, you wouldn't expect to see a pedestrian, but the presence of a bus, emergency vehicle, or delivery vehicle might mean there's a pedestrian in the area and perhaps on the road. More often, pedestrians are being struck and killed because they were distracted. Right? Just like distracted drivers, pedestrians can be distracted by cell phones, texting, or reading. You should look at their behavior for clues about their awareness. There's another tool that's often overlooked: your hearing. You'll be surprised how much you rely on your hearing to know what's going on around you. For instance, you can often hear a car coming up beside you before you see it, or the sound of an emergency vehicle approaching in the distance. Take advantage of all your senses. This street, for instance, is full of hazards you may hear long before you see. Go ahead and pull over in front of any of these houses. Then shut down your car. Continue using these scanning techniques throughout this course. Use both your eyes and your ears to help identify hazards. So you've learned how to identify hazards, some obvious, some not so obvious. You've even learned the first step towards anticipating hazards. But what happens when things don't go as planned? How can you prepare yourself for the unexpected? Well, let's get out of here and I'll show you. Take a left out of this exit. Stop here and look left before pulling out. Okay, you're clear to go because this car is turning into the gas station, right? Well, what if he doesn't turn and you decide to pull out? As I said, things don't always go as planned, and other drivers don't always make good decisions or obey traffic laws. Now it's safe to pull out. One way to prepare for the unexpected is to use a technique called what if. It means as you drive, constantly ask yourself, what if? For instance, what if this car on the left decides to pull out in front of us? What if this car decides to stop suddenly because the light turned yellow? What if this car pulls out in front of you? What if the kid decides to run across the street? Stuff like this happens all the time. Okay, here's a math quiz. If you're traveling at the posted speed limit, how close will you get to the kid before coming to a stop? The answer? You won't even have your foot on the brake when you hit him. Well, even if you were paying full attention to the road, it takes several seconds to recognize what's going on, determine if it's a hazard, decide on the appropriate response, and to move your foot from the accelerator to the brake. So, how do you give yourself more time to react? The obvious would be to stay alert and drive slower in busier areas, but there's another technique that can reduce your reaction time. It's called covering the brake. Here's how it works. When you approach a busy area, instead of keeping your foot over the gas, rest your foot gently on the brake pedal, but do not depress it. You're not actually slowing down, but you're ready to at any moment. This technique can give you a few moments more to react to a situation should it occur. Try it yourself, scan for hazards, and ask yourself, what if? Then cover the brake when appropriate. See how quickly you can respond to any situation. Oh, hey, where are you going? Okay, I think you got it. Pull over by any of these houses and shut down your vehicle. At first, you might have to make a conscious effort to think, what if? But as you get a little more experience, it'll happen more naturally.